Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It's me, it's Clayton, and I just got back from seeing Power Rangers, the new movie from Saban Entertainment. Now, when it comes to my experience with Power Rangers, I've been a fan for quite a while, ever since I was 6 years old and when I saw Power Rangers Ninja Storm. It's a franchise that's been around for years, and I've certainly been a fan of the Rangers, the fight scenes, the monsters, the Zords. As cheesy as it was, I was entertained by it as a kid, and I still find charm in it as an adult. So, what did I think of this new movie? Well, here's the thing. If you love Power Rangers and everything having to do with it, you'll definitely love this movie. If you hate Power Rangers, then this movie will not change your mind. Since I love Power Rangers, I loved it, but it's clearly going to be a polarizing movie. But I knew that from the trailers. Let's get to the story, shall we? The story is similar to that of the original Power Rangers show. 5 teenagers with attitude: Jason, played by Dacre Montgomery; Kimberly, played by Naomi Scott; Trini, played by Becky Gomez; Billy, played by R.J. Cyler; and Zach, played by Ludi Lin, end up finding these 5 power coins in their town of Angel Grove that give them superhuman abilities. When they come together as Fire-forged friends, they eventually find a spaceship underground that has housed in it an alien named Zordon, played by Bryan Cranston. They figure out from Zordon that these power coins signify that they are the newest incarnation of the Power Rangers, and they have to save Angel Grove from an evil ranger named Rita Repulsa, played by Elizabeth Banks. That's all I have to say without spoiling anything. So what did I like about this movie? Well, what surprised me about this movie is, despite the fact that it's a grounded reboot, and it definitely has that tone with it, it still has fun with the source material. It has that cheesy vibe that you remember from the original Power Rangers, but the characters themselves are a lot more fleshed out than in the original show. Because let's face it, while the characters from the original Mighty Morphin Power Rangers had personalities, they were mainly just stereotypes. Here, the characters, while not exactly being three-dimensional, are still significantly more developed and more fun to follow. I especially loved Ludi Lin's interpretation of Zach and R.G. Cyler's interpretation of Billy. The movie actually spends a lot of time fleshing each character out and giving them stuff to do, though the film mainly seems to focus on Kimberly, Billy, and Jason, with Zach and Trini mainly being used as side characters. It's kind of disappointing for fans of Zach or Trini, but I understand you have 5 main characters already, as well as the characters that surround them, so you can't have the largest amount of focus for everyone, even in a 2-hour-long movie. So, other than the characters being well developed, well, more well developed than the show, the acting is pretty excellent throughout. Everyone does a stellar job with their roles, even with the sometimes cheesy writing involved. And the action scenes I thought were very fun, even if they are filled with CGI effects that I'll get to in a little bit. The action scenes are very reminiscent of the original show. There's a lot of martial arts fighting, there's a few wrestling moves thrown in, and the design of the monsters in the film I found to be both creative, and they honored the original source material. So, as you can tell, I had a lot of fun with this movie. Unfortunately, I did have a few problems with it. The first problem is that sometimes it feels like the tone is mismatched in this movie. Sometimes it's a grounded reboot, whereas other times, especially with Elizabeth Banks' version of Rita Repulsa, it gets incredibly cheesy, and it doesn't really get to the right rhythm. It doesn't feel like the tone's consistent until the last 30 minutes when the big final battle comes. That's the only time when I felt the mix between cheesy and realistic really paid off. Also, while I liked the action scenes, the CGI effects are clearly outdated and they are pretty fake looking. Granted, the effects from the original Power Rangers show were never stellar, but when you have a multi-million-dollar movie, I do expect effects that impress me, and these ones did not do it. But even if they aren't good effects, they're still creative enough to the point where they didn't distract me from the action too much, but they're definitely noticeable. This is not a very good looking movie when it comes to the effects, even for some of the characters like Zordon and Alpha 5. Also, the last negative that I'll say about the movie is that the writing, while it is pretty funny throughout, sometimes there are some inconsistencies with the writing that don't make a whole lot of sense. Some characters make decisions that you wouldn't usually see them make. Even if they are teenagers, some of them act a bit out of character at times. And there's a product placement in the film for Krispy Kreme that goes beyond all product placements I've seen in movies. I thought Man of Steel had the most blatant product placement in the world, but this product placement is so blatant that it's a plot point, a major plot point. So if you hate product placements in movies, you'll absolutely despise what they do with Krispy Kreme's product placement. But those are basically all the negatives that I have. One interesting thing to mention is that the original actors who played Tommy Oliver and Kimberly Hart, Amy Jo Johnson and Jason David Frank, do have cameos in the movie. But I'm not going to say when, but when they did show up, it got a huge roar of applause from the crowd. So if you're a fan of Power Rangers, you'll definitely appreciate that little nod. And also, there's an after-credits scene, so know that going in. It's actually a pretty funny one, even if I felt the after-credits scene could have gone a little further with what it was doing. So, overall, like I said at the beginning of the review, if you love Power Rangers, you'll love this movie, and if you hate it, then you won't like this movie. I personally got my cheesy enjoyment out of it, so hopefully you'll be able to come to your own conclusions. I give Power Rangers a 7.5 out of 10. I'll see you next time.